I'm trying to do this on my phone today, which I don't normally do. So it's a little bit weird. It's making me do it vertically instead of horizontally like normal. But I guess that is all right. I'm just going to adjust myself so you guys can see me a little bit better. Alrighty. How is everyone going? Are we all having a good morning or evening, depending on where you are coming from? I didn't wake up too long ago, so you'll have to bear with me as my brain starts working for the day. But today I am going to be reading Good Boundaries and Goodbyes. Feel free to read whatever you like along with me. If I get bored of this or if this becomes too heavy, because it's quite an emotional book, it's a non-fiction, then I'm going to jump into Ender's Game because I have been reading some sci-fi again lately. So let me know what you guys are reading. Yeah, super interested. And if you have any questions or whatever, please let me know. I'm always happy to do a Q&A. So yes, I'm just going to give, we'll probably do the first sprint around in about 5 minutes from when the stream started. And then we will kind of go from there. I'm thinking probably 20-minute sprints, but I don't know. We'll play it by ear with what everyone wants to do. Hello, Tay. It is so good to see you. I don't know if it'll actually let me reply to comments today in the actual comment section because it doesn't seem to give me an option. But I can still chat with you guys. Oh, Shard of Glass. That is a good one. Hello, Chris. That is my husband, in case you guys were wondering. He's in the next room looking after our daughter while I do this. So feel free to ask him questions. He'll hate that. Probably don't do that. Cool. Shard of Glass. Is that the one about the assassins? Or is there just another one called Shard of Glass? Or am I thinking of Throne of Glass or whatever that famous book is, that famous series? I don't know. Shard of Glass. I don't know if I've read that one. Oh, Cinderella retelling. Oh, that's always fun. I didn't think I would love retellings very much of the fairy tales, but because some of our other booktuber friends have recommended some good ones to me, I'm actually all about it. I really do like it because I've read Cinder and I liked it so much that I bought the rest of the series, so I'm looking forward to that. And there was another, and I read the Nutcracker retelling, which was really, really good. So, and Oshina convinced me to buy, what's it called? A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I think is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I haven't quite made it to that one yet, but I have the physical copy, so I'm looking forward to that. Chris said he'll answer your questions if you've got any. Ooh, Retoldathon. I have not heard of that before. That sounds so fun. You'll have to send me the details, Tay, because that sounds really exciting. I do like them. Some of them I feel like probably aren't amazing, but there are definitely some that are so good that they're worth reading. I've got this one as well, and I'm pretty sure this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast as well. Haven't read it yet, but I lie. I read the first chapter to see if I was feeling the vibe at the time. Turns out I wasn't looking for fantasy. I was looking for a sci-fi. And so I didn't keep reading it, but it is very much so Beauty and the Beast like. And the blurb makes me feel like it's probably maybe not super based on Beauty and the Beast, but definitely at least loosely. That's so nice of you to ask, Tay. Okay, I'll answer your question because I feel like Chris probably isn't going to be able to eloquently describe it because it's a bit of a long story. And then we will do our first sprint. But the way Chris and I met was my older sister and his older brother, because both of our siblings are quite a bit older than us. They went to school together and they were good friends. And so I knew his brother for a very long time, but I never met Chris. I didn't know he existed because he actually went to a different school. And one of our siblings' friends from school had an engagement party, and somehow all of us got invited, and we showed up. And I said to my sister, I was like, because I wore like the daggiest clothes ever, because I was like, there's going to be no one there. Like, there's no point in putting an effort. And then the moment I walked in the door, I was like, oh, there's a cute boy over there. And so I like pulled my sister over and I was like, Allie, there's a cute boy. And she's like, oh, you'll have to point him out to me. And then Matthew, Chris's brother, and Chris walked over, and Matthew was like, hey, Sam, have you met my brother Chris? I think you guys are like the same age. And I just looked at Allie, and Allie looked at me, and she's like, is that the cute boy? And I was like, yes. And then Chris said like 2 words to me and left because he was shy and awkward. And I didn't see him for the rest of the night. But his brother came and sat with my family, and they were all like egging me on and being like, oh, the next engagement party we'll be at is going to be yours, and blah, blah, blah. And they were basically trying to set us up. And then his brother sent a mutual friend request, like, to Chris and I to suggest that we be friends with each other. But when I looked at it, I didn't read it properly, and so I thought Chris was sending me a request, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll accept the friend request. And I clicked on the button, and it was like, you sent Chris a friend request, and I was like, oh no, like utterly mortified. And then he messaged me that night and was like, oh, I hope you're not another one of my brother's weird friends. And then we talked that entire night and have been together ever since. And yes, the next engagement party everyone was at was ours. So yes, it was a bit cute. I like the story anyway. And fun fact, it was definitely ordained by God, because there is a photograph that we have found, and the only 3 people in this photograph is Matthew, Chris, and myself. I'm just in the background of this photo, passing behind them. There's no one else in the photo. The rest of the photo is completely black. It's just the 3 of us, and I didn't even know Chris existed then. So it was like a movie. Yeah, I feel like Tay, a lot of boys are a bit awkward. It's cute though, especially when you get a nerdy boy. They're always a bit more awkward. But yes. Oh, I just read your message about the retoldathon. I keep wanting to say rereadathon, but that's not right. It's done by the Brightside Girl, and it is a 2-week readathon with 5 prompts ending Sunday. Oh, that's so cool. I have not heard of the Brightside Girl, so I'll have to follow her. Is that on Instagram or YouTube? Because I'll go look her up after this. Alrighty. Well, we've got like 30 seconds until the stream tells me we've been going for 10 minutes, so we'll start the first sprint then. But I'll just quickly tell you what my book's about. Good Boundaries and Goodbye. I've read one of her books before called Forgiving What You Can't Forget, and it was really good. And I picked this up because it was like 40% off, and I was like, I'm not going to not buy that. And this book is like so incredibly real to my situation right now. And yes, it's changing my life. So if you are having issues setting boundaries with people, or there's difficult people in your life and you don't know how to approach maybe making boundaries or saying goodbye to that person if you need to because they might be abusive, it is a very good book. But yes, it's hard to read all at once just because it's very emotionally charged. But it's super, super good. Yeah, Tay, definitely get it. It's amazing. I'm shocked by how good this book is. And she's just good as well, this author, just with like life principles and just general skills that everybody should have. Like, even if you're pretty good at setting boundaries already, I would still recommend you reading this because you might not have seen it from this perspective before. And it's really helpful because everyone needs boundaries all of the time. Even God had boundaries. So, yes, definitely recommend it. Okay, we are going to do our first sprint because I've chatted far too much already. I feel like that's always what happens in my stream. I just keep talking and then we never do any reading. Okay, so we're going to go for probably almost 20 minutes. We'll go till the stream reaches 30 minutes and we're at 11 minutes and 30 seconds right now. So we'll go till then and then we'll have another little chat. Cool. I agree, Tay. It's far too easy to talk. Okay, cool. See you soon. How'd we go? I cannot tell you how far along I got because I forgot to memorize the number I was on when I started reading. But yeah, how did you guys go? Did you have a good read, a long read? I'm definitely enjoying this book and I do recommend it to like everybody, even if it's not a problem area for you at the moment. It's just good. It's good to read. She's a very good writer too, I found. I really enjoy it. And I love the format of this book. I'll just try and show you some of it. So the format has like some pages have these like extra bits of quote like that. But then at the end of every chapter, or almost every chapter, if I can show it to you, it's got a note from her therapist about like applying skills and actual like counseling strategies and stuff. And then it's got key highlighted things to remember, some like Bible verses, some questions to reflect on, and then a prayer. And I think they're all good. it's a really good time. Also, let me know if I start speaking too softly because I have a tendency of letting my voice trail off. Oh, Tay, sorry, you could have asked. Yeah, we were just going to for 20 minutes, but that's all right. I'll make it more clear next time. Next sprint, we'll probably do 20 minutes every time, I reckon, because I seem to like that amount of time. Because half an hour feels really long to me, but 15 minutes seems way too short. So I normally do about 20. What cookbook are you looking through? You want to use it in a vlog? That sounds fun. Do you have a favourite food, Tay? Oh, the Anne of Green Gables one. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I'd love to get my hands on a copy of that. I also want to get the Studio Ghibli cookbook, and there is a like unrelated, but there is a Anne of Green Gables and a Little Women devotional that I really want to get, and I know can't remember if it was Katie or Miriam that got it and showed it, and it looked so good, and I really want to get a copy, but I haven't yet. Peanut butter is your favorite food. Interesting. Is peanut butter really a food on its own, or is that more like a condiment? I mean, I guess you could just eat spoonfuls of peanut butter, but I don't know if you could live off that, which is fine. I used to, so at the start of this year, I had to go gluten-free and dairy-free permanently because I got a bunch of test results back and I found out that I have to cut them out of my life because of an autoimmune. And that was a sad day because I basically lived off bread and dairy. And so it used to be bread. I used to say that like if I like what's the word? If I could only eat one food for the rest of my life, it would have been bread, just straight up bread. Maybe with a little bit of butter if it was like fresh bread and like all of that kind of thing. But like just bread, I could just eat bread. But now that I'm not allowed bread, what would my favorite food be? I don't even know. I mean, I found some really good dairy-free chocolate chips, so maybe those. Again, not really a food you could sustain on, but that's fine. Oh, interesting. you kind of have peanut butter in all its forms. That's fair. I do like peanut butter. We don't have Reese's peanut butter over here, but I'm not mad about it because I don't really like the Reese's peanut butter. It tastes like sand to me. Sorry if that's really offensive. But we have like really good peanut butter over here, and I do really like it, but it's not like something I will have at every opportunity. Same with caramel. I know some people are really into caramel. I like caramel, but I'm not like, ooh, caramel like all the time. Whereas I'm just straight up chocolate. I'm bland. I'm just plain chocolate. I just like chocolate. Which I know is probably a bit boring, but that's fine. I didn't know that you could get cookbooks from the library. Or at least I've never heard of anyone I know getting a cookbook from the library. But that's cool. You could probably get most things from the library, surely. I haven't got to actually check out a book in a library for a long time. I've been to the library relatively recently, but I didn't get to check anything out. I'm kind of I know it's a better thing to do to use your library, but here in Australia they don't really stock, I guess is the word, like Christian friendly stuff. It's just all secular stuff, and I don't know that I have the patience to find one that would work for me. Plus I would 100% forget to return books, or just like completely forget I've even borrowed it from the library and end up getting fines and stuff because I haven't returned my books. But when I was a kid, my mum was more organized than I, and so like every 2 weeks she'd take us to the library and we'd get our library books and we'd have them for 2 weeks because that's how long we could have them here, and then we'd go and return them and all the rest of it. Yeah, dairy free. It's interesting. It's different to lactose free too. Like I can't have lactose milk. I mean, I can't even have lactose free milk. I just can't have any dairy of any form. Can't have cheese, which is really sad. And I don't like the plant based alternatives. That just grosses me out. Um, so I've just gone completely off it. And it does feel sometimes like there is a void in my heart, but I mean, that's fine. um, but yes, it's not as bad as I had thought it would be. I thought I'd really struggle with it. But the only thing that I'm really struggling with is it's really hard to find takeaway that is both gluten free and dairy free, because a lot of options here are either vegan or gluten free, but they're not both. And most people, like most cafes and pubs and restaurants and everything, they don't do they don't indicate if something is dairy free. They'll only indicate if it's vegan or gluten free. And dairy free is a little bit different to vegan because like I can have eggs and I can have meat products and all of that kind of thing. I just can't have the dairy. So it's that I find a struggle. But apart from that, it's not terrible. But yeah, pretty much fast food is completely out. There is no gluten-free fast food in Australia. Like that has a drive-through. It just doesn't exist. So even if I could find something that was dairy free, it wouldn't be gluten free. So fast food is just completely a no. But most of the time, if we go out to to a restaurant, I can find something that I can eat. But it's my options are always extremely limited, and it's not really a fun time. Okay, I'm trying not to miss all your comments because I keep chatting too long on every single point. Oh, Jif Natural Creamy. Okay. I haven't tried that. We have the brands of peanut butter we have over here is Skippy, which I don't mind because they've got like a no sugar version, which I like. I don't see the point in adding sugar to peanut butter, but that's just me. And then we have Bega. And then there's a couple like natural organic-y type ones. Is that the only peanut butter options like that? We don't have very many. Like, with all things here in Australia, our options are limited of each thing in regards to brands and stuff. It's not like America where you guys have aisles and aisles. It's definitely not like that. Okay. Oh, cool. Your library got away, like completely dropped the Finds idea. That's interesting. That is really interesting. How do they cover the price of the lost books then? Like if people just don't return them ever? What stops people from just keeping them? That's interesting. Australia's an interesting place. It's very different to America in a lot of ways. But like growing up, you don't know that until like I was kind of exposed to the internet and I was like, oh, America is so different. Oh, okay. So there is still some kind of penalty to the not returning books. That's good. Yeah, let me know what you want to know about Australia and I can let you know for sure because you guys might not know stuff. I don't know. I don't know what would be unique to talk about because I have never been to America, so I don't actually know. One of my sisters has been to America, and my husband's stepdad is American, so I like know a little bit, but I don't truly understand what America is like apart from movies and stuff. No, Tate, go for it. I'm happy to. I'm a chatty Kathy, so go for it. I've never been to America, no. I have never been outside Australia. I've barely been outside of my state. I've been out of my state like 2 times in my life, I think. Apart from like you can go to like the border towns in of like the states in Australia and like it's fun to just like step over the line and be like I'm in a different state, but I don't really count that because you don't actually go anywhere, you're just literally stepping over the line. But yeah, I've been to because I'm in Queensland and I've been to Victoria once and I've been to New South Wales once, but apart from that I haven't been outside of my state. I will be going to Perth in late September, early October, which is really exciting. It costs a blinking fortune for flights though, which is ridiculous. It would actually be cheaper for me to go overseas than for me to fly to the other side of my country, that's just a whole thing on its own. But yeah, I am going to visit some family over in Perth, which I've never got to do. That's Western Australia, so that's exciting. Oh, maybe I could do a little bit of a vlog. Maybe I could. I'll have to think about it. At least maybe bits and pieces like highlights and stuff. I don't know that I'll do much reading while I'm over there, but we'll see. Okay, what's the environment like where you live? Like deserty? No. So most people don't live near the desert. Most people live on the coast because the coast is the only place where Australians have really decided to create cities and like major towns and stuff. So I live about maybe half an hour to the nearest beach. And it's like mountainous sort of. But it's like there are mountains and there is some bush. Um, there's even a bit of rainforest, but there's not desert. No, like to get to the nearest desert to me, you'd have to drive at least like 6 to 10 hours, kind of thing. And that would be like heading west into the middle of Australia. But yeah, most people don't actively go to the desert here, and most people don't choose to live in the desert. Like there's some small communities and towns and stuff, especially in the indigenous communities that do. But most of our population just lives like the very edge of Australia. I hope that makes sense. Do we have clear water beaches? Yeah, so we have, well, I don't know if this is true or not because I'm not the judge, but people say that Australia has the nicest beaches in the world. Because we have very sandy, like some beaches have like white sand, and some beaches have like not yellow sand, but like that creamy sandy sand color. And then yeah, we have really nice oceans. Some beaches are very clear water. Some beaches not as much, but like we don't have yucky beaches, if that makes sense. At least not that I've ever heard of. Like there might be one or two because we have like thousands of beaches. But yeah, you're not going to get someone complaining about the beach here, if that makes sense. Yeah, we like a lot of the major surf, like world surf championships and stuff are done here. Like pretty much if they're not done in, I think it's Hawaii is the other place. They're pretty much all done here. Yeah, big surf country, I guess. But yeah, have a Google, have a look at some pictures because they're quite nice. But I don't love the beach. I'm a bit of a beach hater. I hate sand like with passion. I truly believe that sand only came about when the fall happened, because the places it gets is unseemly. And so it bothers me a lot. But I like to sit on like the grass before the sand and just watch the ocean and like listen to the ocean. I like that. Oh, hello, Chantel. Thank you for joining us. We're just talking about Australia right now. We will do some more sprints soonish, but people have questions about Australia, so if you've got any, let me know. Yes, I hate sand so much. I would happily not have sand anywhere near me for the rest of my life. I don't like it. But I do like the sound of the ocean and all that kind of thing. And like we have a lot of lagoons and inlets and stuff where you can kind of get the water without the sand because the water will kind of like come up to the grass almost. And I don't mind that, but yeah, I'm not someone to go build sandcastles or sit like tan on the beach, sit in the sand. I'm not that kind of person. How am I not dead? I think too many things are trying to kill a person in Australia. Okay, I'll clear up some myths for you. Yes, there are a lot of deadly creatures, but you go most days, like I'm by most I mean like probably 95% of the time without ever seeing them. Like they're not just everywhere kind of thing. Um, like, and a lot of the times the deadly things you will see coming. So like, for example, snakes and the spiders and stuff, you'll normally see them before they're a threat. And again, the amount of times in a year I will see a snake is like maybe 4 or 5 times in a year. And the amount of those that are actually like deadly snakes, it's like maybe one a year, maybe, like at most. And with spiders, poisonous spiders are more frequent, but the amount of poisonous spiders that can actually bite you, that you see, again, very minimal. Like it's not a daily occurrence. It's not even a monthly occurrence. Like it's not it's not that bad. I promise it's not that bad. um the internet likes to hype that up a lot. It's like people used to think that we rode to school on kangaroos. Like no one rides kangaroos ever. You can't do that. um but yeah, I find that funny. But like, yeah, if you went out to the desert, which again, that's going to take you hours to get out there, you the frequency of those deadly things will increase a little bit, but it's still not going to be a like everyday battling the animals. um it's really not that bad, Chantal. I'm sorry. It's really not. If you came here for a holiday, you probably would never see a snake or a spider. Like it's really not a concern. The only time that you would be in danger that I can really think of is if you went to Shark Bay, which is in WA, because that's where all the sharks live. But everyone knows that that's where all the sharks are, so you just don't swim in that area. And then like the very north of Australia, which most of it is inaccessible anyway, is where there's a lot of crocodiles and a lot of cassowaries, and those are dangerous. But again, you're not actively going to those places, and most like barely anyone actually lives up there, like within the danger zone. So you're kind of fine. Um, I hope that explains that a little bit better. Um, if I ever went to Australia, where would you? Oh, if you came to Australia, where would I recommend you go? That is a hard thing to say because it truly depends on what you like. Um, that's good, Chantal. Um, let me think. If you like the beach, um, pretty much Queensland is going to be the place you would come, because we are known for the better beaches. Um, I would really recommend, if you really like a beach, because I recently experienced a beach with sand that I was like, this is tolerable. And for me to say that sand is tolerable means it must be really, really, really nice. We went to Yeppoon, which is like not like North Queensland, but it's like maybe halfway. If you look on a map, it's probably about halfway. So high up, but not super high up. And we went to Great Keppel Island. This is my little souvenir. I got a little bookmark. And you basically take a ferry from the mainland over to this island. And it's right, like the Great Barrier Reef is like all around. And it had the most clearest, most beautiful water I've ever seen in my whole life. The colors were absolutely stunning. And the sand was like white sand, and it was absolutely beautiful. And even I was actually tempted to sit in it. And yes, I will 100% be going back there. And I, again, am not a beach person. So if you like the beach and you want to do like snorkeling and scuba diving and paddleboarding and all that kind of stuff, or just swimming, that is like for you. Yeppoon is spelled Oh my goodness, you're gonna test my knowledge. Yeppoon. Um, and yeah, it's like just above Rockhampton, which is a city. It's not a major city, but it's still a city. But yeah, it's super good. Oh, yeah, Chantel, you definitely need to keep reading Oathbound. It is amazing. Book 2 is also amazing. And book 3 comes out like next week or something ridiculous. And I'm incredibly thrilled. So definitely catch up on that. But yeah, if you don't like the beach and you're similar to me, again, I can't really recommend things outside of my state because I just haven't been to enough places. But if you don't like the beach, people really recommend Tasmania, and I would love to go to Tasmania one day. It's like all the rolling hills and the sheep pastures and the just like it's a little bit, at least based on the photos and videos and documentaries I've seen, it kind of is like that whole like Scotland vibe, but Australia's version. So like if you like that kind of like, I want to walk in a prairie and I want that kind of thing, that's kind of what Tassie is like. If you don't want to go that far because you still want to be near a beach but get a similar vibe, there is a place here called Mullaney, and it is about maybe 35-40 minutes from the beach, and it is like beautiful rolling hills and like artisan shops and cafes and that kind of thing. It's like the Richie rich live there, because it's just so beautiful. But yeah, it's quite nice. But yeah, it just kind of depends on what you would like to see while you're here. Like I live 5 minutes away from Australia Zoo, and tourists like going there. But it just depends. It depends on what you like. But yeah, definitely Great Couple Island is great if you like the beach. That was a long tangent. Shall we do another reading sprint? And if you have any more questions, pop them in the chat and I'll answer them in the next chat time, catch up time. I don't know what the in between parts of a reading sprint is called. Do they have a name? I don't know. Okay, we'll be back in like 22 minutes. Does that work for everybody? Because then it will be an hour and 20 minutes since I started the stream. I'm trying to make the times line up better. Sorry. Okay. See you soon. Come back in like 21 minutes and you'll be good. Okay. I lost my notebook for a second. My bookmark, I should say. How did we go? Did we have a good time? This book is crazy good. But it's crazy good, and at the same time it makes you feel like you've been punched in the gut. Yep, it's good though. I am enjoying it and I do recommend it. In case you missed out on my little explanation earlier, I'm reading Good Boundaries and Goodbyes by Lisa TerKeurst, and it's very good. This is my second time reading one of her books, and I really want to get her other one, Uninvited. Her books are always so impactful to me, and I just can relate so hard to everything she has to say. My voice has decided to die on me for some reason. Hang on. Gross, you have to listen to that. How did you guys go with the reading? Once again, I am not keeping up with how many pages I have read in each of my sprints, but that's fine, I guess. I think we will probably go for 2, maybe 2.5 hours in total. So right now it's 10:50 for me, and I was planning on finishing at like 11:30 or probably 11:30, something like that. Maybe 12. See how we go. So yeah. I was reading A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. And you have thoughts. Oh, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I have not heard that one. Also, Virginia Woolf. Who is she again? My brain is not working. She's a classics author, isn't she? What else does she write? I know I've definitely read one of her books, but can I remember what one? Probably not. And I don't think I have any of hers on my shelf at the moment. It's from 1929. Yes. Awesome. Is she... Oh, an essay on women in fiction. Is it like... Do you agree with it or not agree with it? Because when someone says, I have thoughts, it's normally not a good thing. At least when it comes to a book, anyway. Oh, you've never read a stream of consciousness writing before. Oh, okay. I have read stream of consciousness before, and I did actually like it, but maybe it depends on whose stream of consciousness you're reading. Because for a long time, my favorite book was called Nausea by, I don't know, some famous French philosopher. but he had written this book, and it was like a stream of consciousness, and it was partly his like diary, but it basically was him explaining his like panic attacks and his anxiety before that was like a known thing or like something that specifically had a word. And I found that just so incredibly interesting that I absolutely loved the book. But yeah, maybe it just depends on whose stream of consciousness. Because I don't know if I've read any other stream of consciousness since then. I used to dabble in writing my own stream of consciousness for a while. But that, nothing ever got published, and I don't think it ever will. Oh, day your dad called. That's all right. Welcome back. Chantel said her overall idea is that a woman needs a room of her own in order to write. I don't really disagree. There's some interesting history tidbits, but we're just bouncing around everywhere. That's fair enough. Yeah, sometimes they can feel a bit, well, quite disjointed. And I feel like my brain already bounces around enough. Same here. Definitely have a spaghetti brain. I'm not a everything's in compartments person in my brain. You know how people put things in boxes or whatever and they can filter stuff out. Not that kind of person. Which is fine. Cool. Did you guys have any more questions for me, by the way? Did you think of anything while we were on break? I'm going to say on break, but really it was not a break because we were reading. Also, what does my screen look like to you guys? Because it made me do it vertically, which I'm not a huge fan of, because I'm trying it on my phone today. But like, does it look funny for you guys if you're watching it normally? I don't know. We do not have Walmart. We don't have anything like that where you can just like get a bit of everything. Like we either have grocery stores or we have department stores, and department stores only sell like clothes and homewares and that kind of thing. Like they don't sell food as well. But we have, so for major grocery stores, we have Woolworths and Coles. And then there's like other little independent ones here and there, but they're kind of the main two. And then for like department stores, there's heaps of them, but I'd say like the main 5 would be Myers and David Jones, which is like the richer stuff. So that's where you can get like designer label type of things. But like you can find those shops like in every major shopping center kind of thing. So they're not like super designer, but they're like mid-level designer. Then there is the other 3 shops, which are also kind of everywhere, which is Big W, Kmart, and Target. And they all kind of sell the same things, but Kmart is like really cheap, and then Big W and Target are like still cheap but not super cheap. But they also like clothes and homewares. But that's kind of it. And then like you guys have is it called Pottery Barn? I can't remember. But you've got some like hardware stores, right? Some big ones. And we've just got really the one, which is Bunnings. And that's like, yeah, all your hardware, timber, screws and tools and ladders and stuff, and then stuff for your garden, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know why it's being vertical. It's weird. Oh, you're trying to read a chapter today, a day before reading for fun. That's only 6 chapters, but it's taking me longer than it should. Fair enough, Chantel. It's a good thing to try and mix up your reading. I find I read more if I read just like a couple of chapters of like say nonfiction and then read like my normal stuff during the day. Somehow I managed to fit that in better. Um, Interesting. Okay. Thank you for explaining that, Tay. I don't know why on the phone it's not letting me rotate. Because it will let me use my other camera, but then you'll just see my wall, and I don't think you'll want to see that. Is it hard to get things? Like I've heard places outside the US don't have as much access to things, I guess. I guess so. I don't really know. I know we don't have much. Well, if what you mean is like, do we have lots of things from other countries and like brands and stuff? No. The only way you can get stuff from overseas is if you buy it like directly from overseas and then pay the conversion rate and the shipping, which is obscene. Or there's a couple of shops, like independent kind of shops, like lolly shops and stuff. Some independent lolly shops will stock stuff from overseas, but it's like majorly marked up. And then I guess there's probably other little specialty stores that you might be able to find stuff that comes from overseas, but I don't know. I mean, most of our stuff just comes from China anyway. But yeah, we don't really have like American stuff or like British stuff, if that's what you're kind of asking. Okay. We do have Target, but it's not like the American Target. Like our Kmart is kind of what I've seen your Target, like America's Target, be more like. But without the food. I don't know why all of your shops have food. But yeah, Target and Kmart are owned by the same company here, but Target here is like more high end than Kmart is. I hope that makes sense. And yeah, everyone, like, you know how like Target is like a cult thing over in America? Kmart is like the cult thing here. Do you all have our own currency? Yes, we have the Australian dollar. And it's not great. Like for the American dollar, the conversion rate is normally about, for every 1.5 Australian dollars is 1 American. And then for England, it's like 1.8, 1.9 Australian dollars for every pound. I think euro is similar as well. But yeah, we have our own. It's called the Australian dollar. It's not fabulous, but it's not as bad as it could be, I guess. I find it interesting that your Kmart died, but your like Target didn't, and ours is kind of the opposite because our Target is kind of gone down the drain, and like most people, like I think they even released something the other day that was like they're going to change what Target is because it's just not popular anymore. But yeah, Kmart is like never been more popular. Yeah, they might be the Australian dollar and Canadian dollar because I still think the Canadian dollar might be a little bit stronger than the Australian. Because on the back of my book, for example, it says USD 19.99, Canadian 24.99. But then my little sticker that was over the top was the Australian dollar, and that was 29.99. So there is still a little bit, but it's definitely closer than the American, if that makes sense. Yeah, I have seen that stuff online, Tay. That is crazy. I can't believe like a shop is taking such a strong stance. We kind of squash that here in Australia a bit. Like we like the average Australian doesn't like businesses getting involved in politics of any kind. Um and so like apart from the occasional like uh Instagram or Facebook post or something, um that's like as much as the Australian public will kind of tolerate in regards to politics. Um, especially if they try and bring politics into sport, that's like a huge no go. People get really upset about that. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. Okay, well, in like 30 seconds, we will do our next reading sprint for another 20 minutes. Um, and yeah, if you have any other questions or anything, just leave them in the chat and we'll answer them after. Yeah, I've had some things, Chantel. um, yeah, it's crazy to me that they can blur those lines and they think people won't get upset about it. But I guess they can do what they want when they have the money. Okay, 20 more minutes. So be back here in 20 minutes. Chantel's gonna try and finish a chapter of A Room of One's Own. Good job. And Tay, make sure you go listen to your audiobook as well, because I want you to tell me a bit more about that. And I'll just be here reading this still. That's okay, Tay. Do what you need to do. We go. I need to go get some water. My voice is just dying. My throat is not handling all of this talking. This book is one of those books where, like, basically every other sentence is quotable. It's so good. I really do recommend it for anyone and everyone. We all have relationships in our lives that need boundaries um, in order to be healthy people, and this book just is so good about it. And it's a biblical perspective too, which I really, really appreciate. So I do really highly recommend this book. Chantel, I finished the chapter and got the second chapter of Oathbound Red. Yes, so good. Okay, how did you go with A Room of One's Own now that you finished the chapter? And then after that, I want to know how much you're enjoying Oathbound because I love Oathbound. That series is like the best pirate series I've ever read, for sure. Very close second to that is Black Leviathan, but Black Leviathan is a standalone at least at this stage. He did, like, the author did mention like he might write another one, um, but as far as I know, that hasn't happened. So yes, it is a standalone at the moment, and it reads like a standalone, like it finishes in a good place. But Oathbound is such a good trilogy, and I cannot wait to see how it ends because the third book comes out in like a week. Okay, so I keep getting super close to the screen every time to read, even though I could read it from this distance. It's just like instinct. A Room of One's Own, the chapter was the best yet. Okay, that's good, but still not your favorite writing, and that's fine. People like different writing styles. It's like most first person fantasies I really struggle to get into because it's so jarring to me sometimes. It like massively pulls me out of the story when they're like, I went and blah 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 blah. But yeah, that's probably my least favorite. I'm gonna lump it in with writing style. I don't know if it's technically a writing style because it's a point of view, but I don't like it very much. So far, so good. Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. I've been waiting pretty much this whole year, I think, for book 3 because book 2 came out at the very start of this year, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, I read book 1 and then pretty much immediately got to read book 2, which was good. But then book 2 ends on like, such a. Maybe wait to read the end of book 2 until book 3 is definitely out, because it ends in a spot. It ends in a spot. It really does, but it's so good. I am obsessed, and I really, really hope that book 3 ends really well because both books have been equally as good as each other. They've both been 5-star. It's like I found that with Soulmark as well. I don't recommend reading Soulmark until book 2 comes out next year because that ends in a spot. It ends in a spot. Yes, you definitely do, Chantal. It's definitely you just have to pick up the next one and keep going. 100%. 100%. It's super good though. I really do recommend it. At least, yeah, you're starting reading it and it's only like a week till the next one. Because I'm pretty sure Victoria said yesterday that it was like 1 week until release. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that was on her Instagram if you want to go check it out. But just to make sure that I'm not fibbing. But yeah, it's so good. I really liked it. Also, I was gonna start reading Ender's Game this session because I thought maybe I wouldn't want to just keep going on this one because it is so heavy. But I'm still sticking with this one, which is fine. I'm gonna be interested to see if this one's actually clean though, because I know Orson Scott Card isn't most of the time very clean. The movie, I feel like I've definitely seen the movie though, and the movie was fine, so maybe it'll be alright. And I think it's meant to be more of a YA than an adult anyway, and in my experience, YA is sometimes cleaner than adult. I have not read it before. Have you read it before, Chantal? The character's like, oh, okay. So is it middle grade? Is it actually middle grade? I didn't know this. That gives me hope then that it'll be clean because, yeah, I know the author's work can be a bit hit and miss when it comes to being clean or not. But that's interesting. Oh, okay. So it's not middle grade, but he is young, which is fine. Well, I have hope then that it will be all right if you read it earlier in the year. I have quite a few zombie books too that I need to catch up on because I've got a few. Some of them I've never heard of before, so I have no idea if they'll be clean or not, but excited for that. If you have any other zombie recommendations, let me know because I want to do a zombie video sometime this year. But yeah, I'm really into zombies at the moment. I'm also really into pirates, if you can't tell. So if you have any pirate book recommendations, let me know. And everyone really liked my magic book recommendation. So I definitely will do a part 2 because I've already got at least 4 others like ready to be read that I've got in my hands that I would like to review anyway. So I might do a part 2 for that soonish as well. I just read that. I just read Dead City because I think you mentioned it in a video recently, and I immediately bought it and I got it, and it was pretty good. I don't know if I loved it enough to get the next one though, but it definitely was really good. Thank you. I will gladly accept that title from you, Chantel, because I feel like you and Celestia are the other two that do a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. So to hear that from you is very, very high praise. Welcome back, Tay. Hope you had a good time and that Bub's all fed. I could hear in that last read my daughter, who's 2, and my husband, they're like just sitting in the other room with the door shut, and I could hear them like chatting and like about food and stuff. It was quite funny. Oh, really, Chantal? Have you not dabbled in the zombie area? Oh, zombies are great. I love zombies. It's probably my favorite sci-fi trope, actually, is zombies. I just get a kick out of it every time. Well, Tay, you're in the right place if you want to get into more Christian and clean fantasy, because I've got many videos on that topic. It truly just depends on what you like. Like, what I can give you some suggestions now if you can tell me, like, what tropes you like. Chantel is also good for fantasy and sci-fi if you want to hit her up as well. The talking is pretty good, Tay. I do agree with that. But what I wouldn't give to have a little baby again right now. I'm definitely in that I'm itching for another baby. Like, absolutely. So enjoy the cuddles while you can, because it does go way too fast. And with with our daughter, I was so not with it, like, headspace wise, that I feel like I missed a lot of that joy in being and like having a newborn. So I definitely feel like, or I hope it would be different next time, now that I am really conscious of, like, I have to enjoy this phase. Yeah, I totally feel that, Tay. And I struggled with as well for a while. I was like, she's so boring. Like, because I guess I just wasn't expecting that newborns don't do much. Like, sorry, my voice is going in. They like cry and need you and stuff, and like you're always having to do stuff for them, but they don't do much. And I was a bit disappointed, I guess. And I was like, oh, she's a bit boring. But obviously, as she gets older, they start doing more things and learning things, and you're like, oh, this is exciting. But yeah, yeah, Chantel didn't like the baby phase. There you go. It's really interesting how people see it differently. I would want to go back to the baby phase for the cuddles, because my daughter, she's not very cuddly. She'll happily play with you and happily chat with you and all the rest of it, but she's very independent, and she's like, she doesn't just want to sit on the couch and have a cuddle with mum, and that breaks my heart a little bit. So I'd want to go back for that. And also, yeah, just like the small and wiggly. Can you tell that I want another baby? Look at that. And just like gushing all over the place, just talking about it. But enjoy this time, Tay. I understand the struggle of it. It can be extremely overwhelming and extremely exhausting and just draining of all of the facets. So I do feel for you. Okay. You said you like things with romance, and you're trying to think of what else. There is quite a few fantasy romance out there that is clean. There's like a whole community about that on Instagram, actually. If you like just look at the hashtag like clean fantasy or something, it like will, there's a bunch of authors, and most, like, probably half of them are Christian and half of them aren't. So you could go have a look at those guys. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's with kids, it's always that thing. Like, you, in the moment, it's a struggle to enjoy it, but then the moment it's gone, you're like, oh boy, I want to go back. Um, but there's definitely joy in every stage. And I do agree with Chantel that older kids can be quite fun too because they're more interactive and they can do things, and you're just watching their little brains like absorb information and think for themselves, and that is really cool. So that there's in each stage there's a different reason to be joyful, which I appreciate. But some romance fantasy. Let me just have a quick think. Um, well, Oathbound has a good, cute love story. Um, there is also my brain. I'm really not good at this, am I, as a job? What did I just read that had a really good? Oh, Spellbreaker and Spellmaker. Really good love story. Really, really good love story. It's a magic book, so magic fantasy, and it's set in like the 1700s or something. Um, and it is really good. I really recommend that. Yeah, light fantasy romance. Yeah. Spellbreaker and Spellmaker is light on the fantasy, I would say, because the magic is definitely there, but it's not very complicated magic, and the world is very normal. Like they just happen to have a bit of magical ability, and the main storyline is actually more of a crime or a mystery than an actual fantasy in some ways, because like it's a bit of a whodunit kind of thing. Um, but it was really, really good. Another good one that has some good romances. Um, and again, they're not very high fantasy. They're more light on the fantasy. The only fantastical thing about them is that there are giant uh, saber cats and giant wolves, but everything else about it is normal. Um, and that is Saber's Pride and I can't remember the other one. Spirit, something. I can't remember. You'll have to look up Saber's Pride though, because then that will show you the other one. But they are both standalone, set in the same world with similar characters. Like some of the story overlaps a little bit, but you can read them completely separately. And yeah, they both have decent romance. Um, Forks definitely. Mark of the Raven is good, but it's an assassin storyline and it is a bit dark. So just yeah, I'd say like it's almost dark fantasy, but it's also Christian and clean at the same time. So it depends if you want more like happy fantasy or more like tragic fantasy, because same as Saber's Pride, it's more tragic than happy, so it kind of depends. um Saber, Saber, so B for Bob, not B for Victor. um it is by CM something, CM someone. Um, it's really good though, and she's got a couple of other books as well. I know one of like the Kathy McCrum who wrote Recorder. She really recommends that author as well. But quite good. Also, another good one is Trust in the Emerald Sea. I feel like you'd really like that. That is a romance for sure. Um, Good night, Chantel. Have a good evening. Um, what else was there? Yeah, so Tress and the Emerald Sea you'd really like. Um, what else has a good romance? You'd like Soulmark. Soulmark has a really good romance, but the second book, because it's a duology, isn't out yet, and it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger. So you might not want to read it yet until book 2 comes out, unless you're okay with managing cliffhangers, because I know some people can't stand them just because they get too eager to keep reading. I do definitely have more, and yeah, I have heaps of videos on like all of these books, so you can definitely go have a squiz. But I don't know of any that I'm like, all the romance, you know. I definitely do like romance though. I really like Mistborn for the romance. I mean, I just like Mistborn for everything, but the romance in Mistborn is very cute. But it is very epic high fantasy and it's pretty full on. So I probably wouldn't recommend it if you're just wanting light fantasy stuff. Because it is a big undertaking, but it's so good. What else has good romance? I definitely like a good romance in the story, but I don't like it as the main focus. So trying to actually think of books with romance in it now that I'm on the spot is actually surprisingly hard. I feel like most of the magical books all had romances. Like if I look at all of the books that I just did that video on, they all had romance and they were all pretty good romance. So any of those. Yes, Mistborn is intimidating, but it's one of the easier like I would say it's the, if you want to just see how you go with a high fantasy, that is the best one to start with 100%, because he's very good at writing it in such a way that it feels natural, and so it, you almost don't notice that you're in a high fantasy world. And yeah, I'd say like Mistborn is entry level high fantasy. So I mean, you could give it a go if you're interested, but it's good. It's really good. It's really good. I love Mistborn. I really want to reread it because it's so good. Yeah, Mistborn. If you want to get into like proper fantasy, well, proper fantasy sounds snobby, but like epic, like high fantasy, like everything is fantasy in the book. Um, Mistborn is a very good place to start. I would not recommend starting with Stormlight Archive, for example. I wouldn't recommend starting with Wheel of Time. They're just too intense for starting with. But Mistborn is like the perfect entry into high fantasy, I would say. I forgot what we were talking about. Other fantasy romance recommendations. I do have a bunch on my TBR actually at the moment, so I can endeavor to read those and get an actual video out for you if you'd like, because otherwise I'm just reading whatever I feel like at the time. So I'm happy to dedicate a video to you if you want to, and just like read a bunch of fantasy romance and do a video. It will probably take me a few weeks to do because next week I will not have a video up. I'm going to take the week off because I'm going to a retreat conference thing and I'm actually speaking at it. And that is like crazy, crazy daunting to me. Plus, this week is like my most intense week of uni. So, I like for this term, with assessments and everything. So, I just will not have pretty much any time to read this week or get anything sorted. And then, obviously, the actual timing, I won't even be able to do a live stream or anything to make up for it. So, yes, I will be skipping the next video, but then I'll be back to normal. So, I think I'll do a sci-fi because I really need to read Still Fire from the Gods, which is about to release, and I've been given an arc, and I really, really want to read it. So I'm going to do that, do a sci-fi video, and then I'll focus on the fantasy romance for you. What am I going to uni for? I am studying a graduate diploma, so the level above a bachelor's degree for Christian counseling, which is very different to what I have my bachelor's in because my bachelor's is in video game design. But yes, I felt very called by God to jump in the deep end with Christian counseling, and it's really really good, and it's really it's changing my life, but it's really hard and really intense. And yes, I have very small windows of time to fit in a lot of stuff, just because the amount of work you have to do is extreme. But yes, it's really good. It's really good. Um, I would even recommend it just as like a like for yourself thing. Like even if you don't want to do it as a job, it's because mine is only a year long, which isn't that much time. There's 4 terms and they're 8-week terms, so they're just like really intense 8-week periods. But they like it's just good for your own like because they really make you at least the people I'm going through the Australian Institute of Family Counselling, they make you like really focus on like your self-awareness and like unpacking all your own self stuff so that you can be effective. And yeah, I would recommend everyone should take the opportunity to do that, whether in this degree or like outside with a normal counselor or anything. um, it's good to have that self-awareness and know when things are going to set you off or whatever trigger responses you might have, and just how to communicate with people, that kind of stuff. It's really good. But yeah, this book is not part of that curriculum, but I wanted to read it because it's similar topic to what I'm learning about at the moment, and it's crazy good. Crazy good, crazy on point. So yes. Well, I think we might leave it here for today. I mean, we could possibly do a really short 10-minute reading sprint just to finish on 2.5 hours, but I'm all right if you're all right. But yes, I will try to keep everyone updated about next week, and not having a video and then back to normal programming. But I hope you had a great time joining me today. Thank you so much for Tay and Chantel for chatting with me, and anyone else who's popped in along the way. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.